More troubling news. Jon Jones was arrested on Thursday night. He was charged with driving or with a DWI, negligent use of firearm, possession of an open container, and no proof of insurance. He is booked by police early Thursday morning. Just breaking down that happened. Of course, I just got an article put up on the website breaking down his previous arrests, this most current one, and kind of the problems with it. But you guys can go check that if you want a version that you can read. But we're going to break this down on the show. And so recently, what Jones has gone through before is he's also gone through like a arrest. He has battery charges. He's had a hit and run charge. He's had a DUI charge. All these, he's avoided major prison. He's avoided jail time in all these. Either it's been community service or fines. The judge just came out with the ruling a couple hours ago for this most recent incident. I think he's being put under house arrest for 4 days, which might not be the most fitting of sentences, because it feels like almost everyone is under house arrest right now. But that's what you got with it. But Blake, all I know is that there's some really troubling things that he was saying that we saw in the body cam footage that was released by the police. So a couple of things that he said. He was saying stuff like I have anxiety to the officers when they're putting him in cuffs. He was pleading to the officers to take off his hoodie. He was saying stuff like, I just got to take off my hoodie, please, please. And when he was asked why by an officer, Jones said, it's because my anxiety gets so bad. He also said stuff like, please, guys, just let me take off my hoodie. And when the officer asked if Jones wanted to take it off himself, he replied to the officer, no, you can. I just want you guys to feel comfortable. And also, he was her in the video saying stuff like, my family, man, so scared for my family, and everything's been going bad. I just want to be with my family. Man, I kind of get goosebumps just by reading that stuff and when hearing on the video. And all I know is Jon Jones is not in a good place right now. He's not in a good place mentally. He's not in a good place physically, and he needs help, man. He needs help, whether it be by himself, his family, the UFC, his friends. The guy needs help. What's your feeling about this whole situation?
Yeah, I hate talking about stuff like this because, I mean, the guy's under a microscope, and I'm not trying to justify any of his decisions. He clearly has a problem with his decision making, and I'm not trying to knock the dude, but everyone goes through their own stuff, and it's just unfortunate that his is going to be so, it's going to go into such detail. Every little detail about that whole altercation is going to be, that whole situation is going to be analyzed now. And you guys got to keep in mind, like, he was effed up during this time. He probably doesn't even know what he's saying half the time. But the pieces that I took a lot out of were when he was mentioning his family, when you could kind of hear the gravity of the situation kind of hit him, like, oh man, like, this is my career. This is third time now, I want to say, where I've done fourth time now where I've done something super questionable. And
this is fourth arrest since like 2012, I believe.
I think he's got to get someone better around him. I don't know who's around him now. Obviously, I'm not near the dude. But I would, if I was in his position.
We're not talking about this situation like we're his personal friends. We're not trying to act like that. We're just two outsiders that know almost nothing about his life, trying to put in perspective what he's actually going through.
If I'm Jon Jones, I pay somebody annually. I put them on a salary. Like, keep me on the straight and narrow. You're the champ. You're the greatest of all time. You should have plenty of money sitting around
like an advisor,
to be able to keep somebody. Yeah, like a life coach, anything, whatever you want to give, whatever title you want to give him. You need to have somebody around there that's not just a yes man that'll let you know, hey, you're acting like a fool right now. You need to tone it down. You need to remember who you are, what you stand for, and be a man. Because, I mean, he's got to keep in mind, he knows this. He has a family. He's got to support his family, and he's got to be there for them and, provide a good life for them. And I think in that in that whole kind of scenario, you kind of saw like he realized he's messing up, but it's gonna take something. It's gonna take something really profound, I think, for him to get the help that he needs, because it's just a cycle now at this point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's 4 times. That's insane, man. You gotta.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know if you've seen what DC's come out and said on it, but
I want to mention what I want to talk about what DC said, because I've always had a lot of respect for Daniel Cormier. I never really understood the amount of hate that he seemingly gets, because I think he's been nothing but one of the best UFC fighters, MMA fighters of all time. He represented the U.S. well in the Pan American Games and the Olympics too, right?
yeah,
Yeah, and he's just been this great champion. And his rivalry with Jon Jones was one of the biggest in UFC history. Obviously, Jon Jones got the better of that one, and obviously he still has a disdain for the person. They still don't like each other. But I respect the hell out of Daniel Cormier going on air with Ariel Helwani and talking about him being worried for Jon Jones and wanting Jon Jones to get the help that he needs and the help that he really deserves ultimately, and how he doesn't. And I agree with him on this. I don't think that the UFC should cut him. I think it's almost the opposite. I think, and I mentioned this in my article, I think that for all Jon Jones has done, he's put his body and his mental well-being and his physical well-being on the line for years and years and years now for the UFC. He's become one of the faces of the UFC. I don't think the UFC is where it is today without a guy like Jon Jones being that champion in the light heavyweight division for that long. And I think the UFC owes it to Jon Jones to not only keep him on the roster. Okay, they might punch him in the way, stripping his belt. I think that's justified. But the UFC, I think, should feel like they're responsible enough, and they should take the step towards guiding Jon Jones and being that support team for him. And I think the UFC should be the one helping him get into treatment, into possible rehab, into possible therapy, and being there along his side.
and I don't know if you also seen the article John McCarthy was featured in,
Mm-hmm.
but he kind of ripped into Jon Jones.
He didn't hold back, man.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of different sides. I don't really know if there is a side to this story, but there's a lot of different opinions circulating. The main thing that I want to get across is I just want Jon Jones to get the help that he needs if he wants it, which I hope he would after seeing the way that he behaves on, film. Like, I really do agree with what McCarthy said. Who you are is what you do when people don't know, when they don't see.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of goes to what's going on with Jon Jones right now in his life. He's got to get it figured out. Now, my question to you is, do you think they strip him?
Man, it's the 4th time this happened, and it's not a light offense. He's being put under 4 charges. I think the UFC has to strip him. I think they have to strip him of his belt. I think it's the right thing to do. I think you take that belt off of him, or at the very least...
Are they suspending him? Has that been released yet?
Nothing has been said from the UFC about Jon Jones.
I didn't think so. This is probably still under review.
Yeah, the UFC is still probably doing their internal investigation on this matter.
I think if they suspend him for a year, then he gets stripped. If he escapes anything 6 months or less, I think he won't be stripped. But you know what? Maybe he needs to be stripped again. Maybe that'll kind of light the fire again, right?
I think so. I think you strip him, and then on that all-star card or some fight later down the road, then you make a fight, hopefully if Thiago Santos is healthy, you put Thiago Santos against Dominic Reyes for either the interim strap or the actual light heavyweight title. If Thiago Santos isn't recovered by then and isn't ready to fight, then you put Jan Blachowicz, pronouncing that right, yeah, Blachowicz against Dominic Reyes for the strap, whether that be the interim belt or whether that be the actual light heavyweight title. You think that's kind of the way to go? Or do you think Jon Jones gets stripped?
I think that it just depends. Like I said, it depends on the suspension that's handed out.
Mm-hmm.
If it's anything less than if it's 6 months or less, I think he remains champion. And if it's anything more than that, then I do believe he's going to be stripped. And
If you're the UFC, what would you do then?
I mean, I think that you have to look at all the facts. You have to look at all the facts and see, is this isn't, you can't reward this type of behavior. I think there does have to be some type of backlash, some type of what's the word I'm freaking looking for, Ross? Punishment. I guess, right?
Yeah.
Like
some
there has
for this.
Yeah, there has to be a repercussion for his behavior, like if you did all that stuff and came into your I'm trying to rationalize it to another league. Like if somebody in the NFL did that, they'd for sure be suspended for a couple games at least.
Well, we would know. I don't know. They'd be suspended. I don't know how many games they'd be suspended for. It just depends on when Roger Goodell puts his wheel of suspensions and he spins that bad boy. It really just depends on what number it lands on, because I don't think he has any idea what he's really doing for in terms of discipline. That's another point, right?
Yeah.
Man, I think this whole situation it's just a shame. I don't expect anyone to look up to Jon Jones is a moral being. It is for a guy to really put your morals behind and to kind of replicate his actions. By no means am I saying that, but what I am saying is that Jon Jones, like everyone else, he's mortal. He's a human at the end of the day, and we all have our problems. We all have our inner demons, and not everyone deserves deserves good. But I think Jon Jones, he deserves help, and I just want him to come out of this situation a better man, and a better person. I want him to be healthy. That's all I see. A healthy Jon Jones is not only good for himself, his family, but it's ultimately good for the UFC and the UFC fans as a whole. And I think if you're a real UFC fan, you should be hoping the best for Jon Jones, and you should be hoping that he sees the light at the end of the tunnel and comes out better.